Love Live, the School Idol movie review. It's certainly been a long way for Yuki Love Live fans, but the School Idol movie is finally available in this collector's edition from Anime Limited. Has it been worth the wait? Well, grab your glow sticks and take a seat. The particular answer to that is a no-brainer. The film kicks off exactly where the second season ended. As Hanaya hears the news, the third Love Live competition is planned to be held on the Akiba Dome, but this is big news. It hasn't been finalized yet, and in order to help make the deal, Muse has been invited to go and perform in New York to help spread the word about the power of school idols and make them more popular. The film is largely split into three parts, and the girls' trip to New York is arguably the most fun and engaging of them, as it follows a template that many may remembered from the K-On! Movie, which was released a few years prior to this. Thrusting the girls into the middle of a massive foreign city is an absolute delight, as they end up running around looking for a place to hold their performance, getting to take in the sights of New York along the way, just like the K-On! Movie did for London. This does the same from New York, showing off everything from glistening skyscrapers and the Statue of Liberty to Central Park and even the poorier side of town. And the missing scene near the beginning where, having split into different taxis for the airport, Omi's group gets taken to the wrong hotel, so it's not just plain sailing, as they also struggle with the language barrier, the lack of familiar food, and getting lost in an unfamiliar place, all of which I think everyone who has traveled abroad can relate to. But there is very much a sense of fun and letting go. There's also a tingle of sadness here too, as the girls are still coming to grips with their decision to split that they made in the second season. Despite that decision, it feels like they aren't quite done yet, with Maki still writing music and Kotori was still drawing out costume designs, but it's Hanako who still seems the most conflicted, and she clearly wants to keep on singing, and with the group splitting up, she questions where she should go from here. This ends up being a cursed focus of the second part of the film. It honestly feels like we are retreading old ground. As the groups return to Japan after the successful performance in New York, the newfound popularity and face incredibly high expectations placed upon them by fans of rival groups alike that force them to re-examine if they should call it a date or not. I think this could have been framed a little better for focus, more the where do we go from here question rather than should we continue, as we already know the answer to that later anyway. But the way this part of the film is structured around Honoka, it makes more sense to drill down properly into what she wants to do for herself, rather than the rest of the group. This is there in a way anyway, but I don't have conflicting feelings about the way it is executed, particularly with the introduction of the familiar looking face to offer her guidance and inspiration to things she could have properly realized herself. However, her meetings with this character do work well as well. Moments of the film when you figure out who it might be and offers out a cute but slightly sentimental smile at those who were particularly invested in Honoka's character. For those who would prefer the other characters in the group, don't worry about Honoka stealing the limelight, as the rest of the gang get their own fair share of screen time and they'll have some quick moments throughout the film. Whether that means taking the charge in New York, Nico blasting on her iconic Nico Nico Ni catchphrase and dreaming about getting attacked by the alpacas, or Maki crafting the group's final song. And speaking of songs, each member gets involved in that way too, which each year trio getting their own musical number drawing the story, as the film really takes on board that anime musical vibe that honestly fits in really well with the initial New York setting. While this approach isn't necessarily new, at this point it was as it was the way Love Live was initially designed to be. It feels like it really connects the CCD perfectly for the first time. All in all, I love how we see the group really come together in this film, and it shows how far they have come since Honoka forced Obi and Kotori into the stage of the school auditorium. So it's going into the film's final third, there's certainly a sentimental but overall joyous feeling, as they decide to put on one last big hooray, taking over Akihabara and roping in school idol groups from all over the country to show everyone just how good school idols can be. And as the sun sets and we get into the film's final scenes, it's hard not to shed some tears as Muse bows out to the next generation of school idols. Animation for the film is handled by Sunrise, which looks considerably great drawn out, with the movie-sized budget helping to elevate the past TV series with some fantastic and dynamic looking shots. Great character animation, the face game is absolutely on point here, as an additional CGI when it comes to the performances. But most of these are great in terms of their design and direction. I wasn't quite so sure about the big New York leaf, which felt like it missed the mark a little, as it plunks a great big stage down in the nondescript part of the city and inexplicably places scenes in Central Park at times. And part of the point around the segment was trying to choose whether to host the performance. It just doesn't make sense to be so indecisive, and whether it wants the audience to think takes place. The music itself drew a fantastic and well sunny day song. It's clearly the standout climax. The other tracks are really fun and upbeat idle pop numbers that makes you want to chant along. Meanwhile, the lyrics of Bokotachi by Hidetosa and Hikari help drive that sentimental feeling at the end, using the literal meanings of each of the girls' names to reflect on their role during the series. The film's score is composed by Yoshiaki Fujisawa and follows on from his work of the first two seasons, featuring many of the same cute and comedy themes that keep it considered with the rest of the franchise. Anime Limited's release features the film with both Japanese and English subtitles and the English dub. The Japanese voice cast does a great job drawing with roles that are very familiar to them at this point, but the English dub is pretty good though, and even Joan is not exact match with the tune to the character's voice. They definitely tried their best and they blend well enough into the Japanese songs to keep things from being too generic as they switch between the two. On this, extras include the Japanese promotional videos for the film, and lots of clean ending credits. Basically, you get the film package and the standard Blu-ray case into the collector's edition box, along with the booklet featuring character profiles and artwork, with Anime Limited now largely abandoning digipacks. This release feels a bit cheaper than the release of Sunshine Ultra. I know some people prefer the Thunder Amare. I do wonder if they will consider a Criterion Collection style case in future, as the full wraparound art will include here, which is the main art used for the Japanese digipack. Does it really go with your Thunder Blu-ray branded case? While it's not quite perfect, overall, Love Live the School Idol movie is everything you could want from a piece that wraps up Mew's story. It stays true to its characters and themes that have been established in the TV anime and builds on them further with a rich of fun and moving moments, but delivering some fantastic songs along the way. With this being a sequel, it does have the prerequisite of seeing the rest of the anime first. It's not really trying to draw and newcomers at this point. It's a love letter to the fans that have stuck with Muse. All this time it gives a sense of closure to the fantastic story. 9/10.